Ever felt like your inner battery is completely dead, no matter how much you charge it? That was Jake's world. He was a high flyer, always on the go, nailing every project. But beneath the surface, the engine was sputtering. Sleep became a luxury, not a necessity, and that spark he once had, gone. He was teetering on the edge of total exhaustion. What happens when the drive that pushes you forward suddenly becomes the thing that breaks you? Jake's story is a powerful and relatable journey through the dark side of ambition and the surprising way he found his way back to the light. You might just see your own hustle reflected here. Okay, so you got a glimpse of Jake's situation, right? The guy was a machine. Remember those early days? Fresh out of college, full of beans, landed his dream gig in tech. He was all in. Late nights were the norm, weekends were for side projects, and the constant buzz of his phone was practically an extension of his own heartbeat. He thrived on it, that feeling of conquering the world one line of code, one successful launch at a time. His colleagues admired his hustle, his boss saw him as a rising star, and honestly, Jake loved it too. He felt like he was finally going somewhere. His apartment? Pretty much just a crash pad between work sprints. Meals were often whatever he could grab on the go, and downtime meant catching up on industry news or scrolling through work emails before passing out. His friends would joke about him being married to his laptop, and his family would occasionally voice their concern, but Jake waved it all off. "Gotta strike while the iron's hot," he'd say with a tired but determined grin. He was building his future, and sacrifices had to be made, right? That's the American way, the drive to succeed, the ambition that fuels innovation. But slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, the cracks started to show. That initial excitement began to feel like a constant pressure. The all-nighters went from feeling productive to just necessary to keep his head above water. He started relying more on coffee than energy drinks just to get through the day. Remember that feeling of being sharp and focused? Yeah, that was fading into a blurry haze of fatigue. He'd snap at his partner over the smallest things, his patience wearing thinner than his phone battery by the end of the day. He missed birthdays, canceled plans with friends last minute, always with a work excuse. And deep down, a little voice started whispering that maybe, just maybe, this wasn't sustainable. But Jake, being Jake, just pushed it down, telling himself it was just a rough patch, that things would ease up soon. He was so focused on the summit, he didn't notice the ground crumbling beneath his feet. The ambition that once fueled him was now the very thing threatening to consume him whole. That little voice Jake was ignoring? It started shouting. The rough patches became the norm. Remember how he used to power through those late nights? Now, even after a full 8 hours, if he even managed that, he'd wake up feeling like he hadn't slept at all. That constant buzz he used to thrive on? It morphed into an overwhelming anxiety that clung to him like a second skin. He'd find himself staring blankly at his screen, the simplest tasks feeling monumental. The innovative ideas that used to flow freely were now a desert in his mind. One morning, it all came crashing down. He was in a crucial meeting, presenting a project he'd poured his heart and soul and countless sleepless nights into. Suddenly, mid-sentence, his mind went completely blank. He couldn't remember what he was saying. His heart started pounding in his chest, and a wave of dizziness washed over him. He had to excuse himself, feeling the shame and panic rising in his throat. Back in his office, staring at his reflection, the dark circles under his eyes, the gaunt look on his face, it hit him like a ton of bricks. This wasn't just stress. This was something else. The constant pressure had finally broken through his defenses. He started having trouble sleeping, even when he wasn't working. His anxiety spiked, turning everyday situations into sources of worry. He became withdrawn. The easygoing guy his friends knew was replaced by someone irritable and distant. Even his passion for his work, the very thing that had driven him, felt like a heavy burden. He started making mistakes, missing deadlines, and the quality of his work plummeted. His boss, once his biggest supporter, started raising concerns. Jake felt like he was failing at the very thing he had dedicated his life to, and the irony was a bitter pill to swallow. He was running on empty, and the engine had finally seized. The ambition that had once lifted him was now dragging him down into a dark and isolating place. He had hit the wall hard. That moment in the meeting, the blank stare, the heart pounding, that was Jake's wake-up call, the brutal slap in the face he desperately needed. He couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. For the first time in a long time, he actually listened to that nagging voice inside, the one that had been screaming for help over the relentless hum of his ambition. His first step wasn't a grand gesture, but a small, scary one. He talked to his partner, really talked. He didn't downplay his stress or brush it off with a joke. He laid it all out there, the exhaustion, the anxiety, the feeling of being completely overwhelmed and disconnected. The relief of finally voicing those fears was immense, and the unwavering support he received was the first lifeline thrown his way. Next came an even bigger hurdle, admitting he needed professional help. The idea of seeing a therapist felt like a personal failure at first, a sign of weakness in a culture that often glorifies the grind. But his partner gently pushed, reminding him that seeking help for your mental health is no different than seeing a doctor for a broken leg. That first appointment was tough, laying bare all the pressure he'd been internalizing for so long. But slowly, with the therapist's guidance, he started to understand the roots of his burnout, the unhealthy patterns he'd fallen into, and the unrealistic expectations he'd placed on himself. He also started making conscious changes to his lifestyle, small at first, but they began to add up. Remember those late nights glued to the screen? He started setting firm boundaries, logging off at a reasonable hour, even if it meant leaving some tasks unfinished until the next day. It felt counterintuitive at first, like he was falling behind, but surprisingly, the quality of his work actually improved when he was better rested and more focused. Sleep, which had become a distant memory, became a priority. He established a regular sleep schedule, ditched the pre-bedtime scrolling, and created a relaxing routine before hitting the sheets. It wasn't an instant fix, but slowly, that deep, restorative sleep started to return. Food, which had been an afterthought, became something he paid attention to. He started cooking more, opting for healthier meals instead of relying on takeout. He even rediscovered the joy of taking a proper lunch break, stepping away from his desk and actually savoring his food. And then there was the F word, fun. Remember hobbies? Friends? Jake had almost forgotten they existed. He started consciously carving out time for things he used to enjoy, hiking in nature, playing his guitar, grabbing a beer with friends without constantly checking his phone. These weren't just distractions. They were ways to reconnect with himself and recharge his batteries in a way that work never could. He learned to say no. That one little word felt incredibly powerful. He stopped volunteering for every extra project, started delegating tasks at work, and realized that saying no to some things meant saying yes to his own well-being. It wasn't easy, and he had to push back against that ingrained, always-be-doing mentality. But with each no, he felt a little bit more in control of his time and energy. The journey wasn't linear. There were days when he felt the old urges creeping back in, the pull to just work a little longer, to check one more email. But now, he had the tools and the awareness to recognize those triggers and redirect himself. He learned that taking breaks wasn't a sign of weakness, but a necessity for long-term sustainability. He realized that true success wasn't just about the accolades and the promotions, but about living a balanced and fulfilling life. It was about thriving, not just surviving. Fast forward a bit, and Jake's life looks different. He's still passionate about his work, still driven, but now he approaches it with a newfound sense of balance. He leaves the office at a decent hour, enjoys his weekends, and actually looks forward to seeing his friends and family. That constant anxiety has quieted down, replaced by a sense of calm and control. He even jokes about his workaholic days, a chapter of his life he's learned valuable lessons from. Jake's story, like many others who've faced burnout, is a reminder that pushing yourself to the limit isn't always the path to success. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is step back, prioritize your well-being, and redefine what making it truly means. If Jake's journey resonated with you, if you've ever felt that relentless pressure, We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What are some of the first steps you took or are considering to find more balance? Sharing your experiences can help others who might be going through something similar. And if you found this story insightful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might need to hear it today. If you're interested in more stories of resilience and finding your way back from the brink, be sure to subscribe for future videos. Your support helps us share these important messages.